Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Reshma Tiwari, and with me is Renuka RS, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Narendra Modi says core of self-reliance principle is to make India an economic superpower house that caters to both domestic and global needs. 14th Annual India-Japan Summit to be held in New Delhi on Saturday to advance partnership for peace, stability and prosperity in Indo-Pacific region. India extends $1 billion concessional credit facility to Sri Lanka. Credit amount to be used for importing food, medicine and other essential items. Indian Embassy in Ukraine issues fresh advisory for citizens and shares new contact details for assistance. US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping hold virtual talks. President Xi Jinping says conflicts and confrontations are not in the interest of anyone. India at UN Security Council backs convention prohibiting biological weapons. Also welcomes diplomatic talks between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. Indian Information and Broadcasting Secretary Apurva Chandra and actor R. Madhavan inaugurate Media and Entertainment Fortnight at India Pavilion in Dubai Expo 2020. And in All England Badminton Championship, Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen cruises into semi-final in men's singles. Tressa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichan also move into semi-final in women's doubles event. As we start the bulletin, we appeal to our listeners to stay safe from COVID-19 by following these 4 simple steps. Get fully vaccinated, wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the nation is moving towards Atmanirbharta or self-reliance powered by its talented youth. Inaugurating the centenary year celebrations of Malayalam daily Matrubhumi through video conferencing, the Prime Minister said the core of Atmanirbharta principle is to make India an economic superpower house that caters to both domestic and global needs.
At the core of this principle is to make India an economic powerhouse that caters to domestic and global needs. Unprecedented reforms were brought in which will boost economic progress. Production-linked incentive schemes were introduced in different sectors to encourage local enterprise. India's startup ecosystem had never been more vibrant. Youngsters from Tier 2, Tier 3 towns and even villages are doing excellent work.
Mr. Modi elaborated on the positive impact of the media on the campaigns of New India.
The media played a critical role. In these years gone by, I've seen the positive impact the media can play. The example of the Swachh Bharat mission is well known. Every media house took up this mission with great sincerity. Likewise, the media has played a very encouraging role in popularizing yoga, fitness and Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. These are subjects beyond the domain of politics and political parties. They are about making a better nation in the coming years.
Speaking about the world's expectations from India in today's day and age, the Prime Minister said that India defied the initial speculation of inability to handle the pandemic. The 14th India-Japan Annual Summit will be held in New Delhi on Saturday. At the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida will be undertaking an official 2-day visit to New Delhi, beginning tomorrow for the annual summit. Briefing media in New Delhi, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said this will be the first meeting between the 2 leaders. He said India and Japan have multifaceted cooperation within the ambit of their special strategic global partnership. The summit will provide an opportunity for both sides to review and strengthen bilateral cooperation in diverse areas as well as exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest so as to advance partnership for peace, stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond.
Australian Federal Minister for European and International Affairs Alexander Schallenberg is arriving in New Delhi on Saturday on a 3-day official visit. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is scheduled to hold a meeting with him on Sunday. India has extended a $1 billion concessional credit facility to Sri Lanka. The signing ceremony took place in Delhi on Thursday in the presence of visiting Sri Lankan Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa, Indian Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, among others. This will be used for importing food, medicine and other essential items from India. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said India has always stood with the people of Sri Lanka and will continue to extend all possible support in this juncture.
Minister Rajapaksa met Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman. There was a signing ceremony of a $1 billion concessional credit facility being extended to Sri Lanka. This will be used for importing food, medicine and other essential items from India. In the recent past, at the request of Sri Lanka, we have been extending assistance and support to Sri Lanka. There was a 400 million currency swap under the SARC format. RBI deferred Asian Clearing Union facility. There was a 515.2 million settlement facility that has been deferred till May. We have also earlier extended $500 million line of credit for procurement of fuel from India.
The spokesperson said both the sides understand the benefit of closer economic engagement.
The Indian Embassy in Ukraine has issued an advisory on Friday for the Indians in the war-torn country. It said the Embassy of India continues to function and can be contacted through email cons, the digit 1, .kyiv@nea.gov.in. The embassy in the advisory said 24/7 helpline numbers are functional on WhatsApp for assistance. The numbers are 3809 3355 9958, 919205 290 802 and 9174 280 22564. India is highly dependent on imports for meeting its energy requirements, as nearly 85% of its crude oil requirement has to be imported. Pointing out that most of the imports are from West Asia, sources stressed that countries with oil self-sufficiency or those importing themselves from Russia cannot credibly advocate restrictive trading, and India's legitimate energy transactions should not be politicized. The US has also now become an important crude oil source for India. Sources said imports from the US are expected to increase substantially in the current year, probably by around 11%. Its market share will be 8%. Sources added that geopolitical developments have posed significant challenges to India's energy security, and for obvious reasons, India had to stop sourcing from Iran and Venezuela. Alternative sources have often come at a higher cost. The jump in oil prices after Ukraine conflict has added to India's challenges, and pressure for competitive sourcing has naturally increased. Russia has been a marginal supplier of crude oil to India, and there is no government-to-government arrangement of import. Russian oil and gas is being procured by various countries, particularly Europe. 75% of Russia's total natural gas exports are to OECD Europe. European countries like the Netherlands, Italy, Poland, Finland, Lithuania and Romania are also large importers of Russian crude oil. Sources said recent Western sanctions on Russia have carve-outs to avoid impact on energy imports from Russia. Russian banks that are the main channels for European Union payments for Russian energy imports have not been excluded from SWIFT. They said India has to keep focusing on competitive energy sources, and India welcomes such offers from all producers. Indian traders too operate in global energy markets to explore best options.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a commentary on India's role in Russia-Ukraine crisis.
The Russia-Ukraine crisis has unfolded new geopolitical realities and, most importantly, has outlined the role and position of significant stakeholders like India and China in the backdrop of the conflict. While China has seized the opportunity to forge new relations with Russia that are superior to political and military alliances of the Cold War era, India's position is defined by its warm relations which it shares with Russia and, on the other hand, by the extensive bilateral relations which it has with Ukraine. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has held talks with both Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky since the conflict between the two nations began. India's Deputy Permanent Representative R. Ravindra recently stated at the UN Security Council that New Delhi believes that any lasting resolution of conflict can only be achieved through peaceful negotiations, while stressing the need to respect international law, sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. India sent relief and medical supplies to the war-hit cities of Ukraine, while Prime Minister Modi has repeatedly called for urgent ceasefire and has emphasized on the path of dialogue and diplomacy. The Indian government has also undertaken several evacuation programs for its Indian citizens who were stuck in Ukraine under Operation Ganga. Several Indian flights have evacuated more than 22,500 Indians from Ukraine via Bucharest, Budapest and other places. The Ministry of External Affairs emphasized that India is continually boosting the presence of Indian teams for necessary arrangements at the border points at Slovakia, Romania, Poland, Hungary and Moldova. In a statement in the Rajya Sabha on the grave matter, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said India's position on the Ukraine conflict has been steadfast and consistent. The minister said New Delhi has expressed deep concern at the worsening situation and called for immediate cessation of violence and an end to all hostilities. In the UN Security Council and General Assembly, India has urged for an urgent ceasefire and to ensure safe passage for stranded civilians. The External Affairs Minister also highlighted the humanitarian assistance extended by India to Ukraine and its neighbors in this hour of crisis. Dr. Jaishankar said the Ukraine conflict has major economic implications. Its impact on energy and commodity prices is already visible. The disruption of the global supply chain is expected to be significant. India has substantial dealings with both Russia and Ukraine. An assessment in this regard by the Indian government is underway. However, he added that the House will appreciate that there is all the more need for an Atmanirbhar Bharat now than ever before. India has so far refused to take any sides in the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. This stand is defined by geopolitical complexities which have become an inescapable part of the current realm of international politics. India's abstention from the UN General Assembly resolution and from the UN Security Council procedural vote to call for a General Assembly session on the Ukraine crisis explains India's time-tested and defense and diplomatic ties that it shares with Moscow. Russia continues to be India's largest arms supplier. The Russian S-400 missile defense system gives India crucial strategic deterrence. Apart from this, it is strategically difficult for New Delhi to disregard years of diplomatic cooperation with Russia on several issues. In just the recent past, it would be worthwhile to remember here that Moscow had vetoed UNSC resolutions to support India's stance on many issues. Given the fact that China has taken advantage of the situation and has taken Russia's side, India's stance has been more nuanced and mature, keeping in view her friendly relations, special and privileged partnership with Moscow. The balanced stand thus suits India's foreign policy interests. Many analysts are contemplating that the current conflict will change the contours of power relationships between the stakeholders, and the extent of its widespread impact cannot be anticipated now. The NATO meeting of heads of state next week and the continuing dialogue between Russia and Ukraine are the rare positives amid the grim conflict. It would serve all sides better if peace is given a chance and humanitarian assistance reaches the Ukrainian people at the earliest. Prashant Kumar Sinha for World News.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts. India at the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, has advocated the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention, BTWC, saying that it is important to ensure its implementation in letter and spirit. India noted the remarks made by the UN Under-Secretary General of Disarmament Affairs, Izumo Nakamitsu, regarding biological activities relating to Ukraine and said that India attaches high importance to the Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention as a key global and non-discriminatory disarmament convention prohibiting an entire category of weapons of mass destruction. R. Ravindra, Deputy Permanent Representative at UNSC briefing said it is important to ensure full and effective implementation of the Biological and Toxins Weapons Convention in letter and spirit. He said, "We also believe that any matter relating to obligations under the BTWC should be addressed as per the provisions of the convention and through consultations and cooperation between the parties concerned." Expressing concern over the ongoing situation in Ukraine, India added that it welcomes the latest round of diplomatic talks between the Russian Federation and Ukraine.
US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke on a video call on Friday about Russia's military action in Ukraine. Chinese media said Xi underlined that such conflicts are in no one's interest. The call lasted just under 2 hours, the White House said. President Xi told Biden that conflicts and confrontations such as the events in Ukraine are in the interests of no one, according to Chinese state media. State-to-state relations cannot advance to the stage of confrontation, and conflicts and confrontations are not in the interests of anyone, Xi said. He said the Ukraine crisis is something that we don't want to see. Chinese state media said the call had been requested by the US side. World leaders have called for an investigation of attacks on targets, including airstrikes on schools, hospitals, and residential areas in Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said American officials are evaluating potential war crimes and that if the intentional targeting of civilians by Russia is confirmed, there will be massive consequences. The United Nations political chief, Under Secretary General Rosemary DiCarlo, also called for an investigation into civilian casualties. Reminding the UN Secretary Council that international humanitarian law bans direct attack on civilians, she said many of the daily attacks battering Ukrainian cities are reportedly indiscriminate and involve the use of explosive weapons with a wide impact area. The World Health Organization said it has verified 43 attacks on hospitals and health facilities with 12 people killed and 34 injured.
Information and Broadcasting Secretary Apurva Chandra and actor R. Madhavan on Friday inaugurated the Media and Entertainment Fortnight at the India Pavilion in Dubai Expo 2020. The idea of the Media and Entertainment Fortnight being organized by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry is to showcase Indian prowess in the sector and promote global collaborations and attract investments. The Secretary had a meeting with Chairman of Channel 2 Group Corporation Ajay Sethi. He apprised Mr. Chandra of his company's vision of starting a live radio channel in India dedicated to sports. Mr. Sethi said the current broadcasting of live cricket in India on radio lacks quality and content, and there is a delay of around 11 seconds as well. The company has collaborated with stars including Kapil Dev and Sunil Gavaskar. He added that the company is ready to invest in infrastructure, marketing and content and was seeking support in terms of channels from Government of India. Currently, they are in a 60-40 revenue sharing model with Prasar Bharati but are not producing content. Mr. Sethi informed the Secretary that his company operates FM channels in Dubai, TV channel in Kenya, Media City, cricket teams in Caribbean and South Africa, among other key activities. The company owns ICC Global Cricket radio rights. The Secretary assured all support from the Ministry to take this venture further. In a roundtable discussion organized at the India Pavilion on the topic of collaborating for animation, visual effects, gaming and comics, AVGC content creation with India, Mr. Chandra highlighted the opportunities in the animation, visual effects, gaming and comics AVGC sector in India. He also added that the Indian media and entertainment industry is one of the fastest growing and the most visible in the world.
एनिमेशन, वर्चुअल रियलिटी, गेमिंग, कॉमिक ये एक बहुत उभरता हुआ सेक्टर है जो हमारे यहाँ आईटी सेक्टर में जो लगभग 20 वर्ष पहले हुआ वो अब इस सेक्टर में मेरे ख्याल से अगले 10 वर्ष में इसकी उपलब्धि होने की संभावना है.
The Indian media and entertainment industry is valued at $28 billion and is projected to reach $100 billion by 2030, growing at a cumulative growth rate of 12%. Mr. Chandra said India has talent and creative skill required in the industry. The Secretary mentioned that Ministry of Information and Broadcasting will set up an AVGC task force by end of this month with the purpose of formulating the AVGC policy to further facilitate the companies in the sector. Actor R. Madhavan applauded the Government of India for their attention towards the AVGC sector and emphasized about the talent of Indians and its growth potential. CEO of CBSE, Ravindra Bhakkar, highlighted the importance of skilling and creating a talent pool that will benefit the Indian media and entertainment industry in the long run. The roundtable saw a vast array of inputs from industry leaders from India, Dubai and other countries, agreeing that India offers vast opportunities for outsourcing in the AVGC sector, while also voicing the need for deeper collaboration between the two countries to foster stronger collaboration between the private sectors of India and Middle Eastern countries. The upcoming Indian movie RRR was launched globally in the presence of Secretary Mr. Chandra, Director S.S. Rajamouli and actors Ram Charan and N.T. Ramarao Jr. The launch was done in presence of the global media houses and various key delegates from India and UAE. Information and Broadcasting Secretary Apurva Chandra is leading a delegation of the ministry at the expo.
The Indian Department of Telecommunications organized an online event titled The Digital Transformation Center Stage, India, to showcase and highlight successes of India in effective information and communications technologies adoption to encourage Commonwealth telecommunications members for adopting transformative digital solutions. The event was organized under the Indian Ministry of Communications and the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization. India is a member country of the Commonwealth Telecommunications Organization, which has 33 countries as its members. In the event, the success stories of Aadhaar and Unified Payment Interface UPI system, which are significant elements of Digital India program, were shared with representatives of the CTO member countries. UIDAI made presentation on Aadhaar and highlighted its features such as 1.26 billion live Aadhaar, over 68 billion authentications, its support in financial inclusion, Aadhaar-enabled direct benefit transfer DBT and its other use cases. All remaining COVID travel restrictions have now been lifted for passengers entering the United Kingdom on Friday. Now, unvaccinated arrivals will no longer have to take tests. The rule had already been lifted for the vaccinated, and passenger locator forms have been scrapped. It comes almost exactly 2 years after the first COVID lockdown measures were imposed in the UK. Aviation Minister Robert Coates said after nearly 2 years one can all travel without bureaucratic restrictions. However, UK travellers are still advised to check the rules for the countries they are visiting, as many still have restrictions and testing requirements in place. People were first advised against all non-essential international travel in March 2020.
In Bangladesh, a group of miscreants attacked the ISKCON-affiliated Radhakanta Jeev temple at Lal Mohan Saha Street in Wari area of Dhaka in the evening of Thursday. Confirming the incident, General Secretary ISKCON Bangladesh Charu Chandra Das Brahmachari told the Prasar Bharati correspondent that close to 100 to 150 people gathered near the temple and attacked its property and vandalized it. Police came to the spot and diffused the crowd. No further incident has been reported since then, said Charu Chandra Das Brahmachari. The Festival of Colours, Holi, is being celebrated throughout India on Friday. The festival signifies the victory of good over evil and marks the onset of spring season. President Ramnath Kovind, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi have greeted the people on the occasion. Mr. Modi expressed the hope that the Festival of Colours will bring happiness in everyone's life.
Finland has been named the world's happiest country for the 5th year running in an annual unsponsored index that again ranked Afghanistan as the unhappiest, followed closely by Lebanon. Serbia, Bulgaria and Romania recorded the biggest boosts in well-being. The largest fall in the World Happiness Table released on Friday came in Lebanon, Venezuela and Afghanistan. Lebanon, which is facing economic meltdown, fell to second from last on the index of 146 nations, just below Zimbabwe. War-traumatized Afghanistan, already bottom of the table, has seen its humanitarian crisis deepen since the Taliban took power again last August. UN agency UNICEF estimates 1 million children under 5 could die of hunger this winter if not aided. The index presents a stark reminder of the material and immaterial damage that war does to its many victims, co-author Jan Emmanuel de Neve said. The World Happiness Report, now in its 10th year, is based on people's own assessment of their happiness as well as economic and social data. Now let's take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. Let's take a look at the press reports on China. Xinhua reports Chinese President Xi Jinping will exchange views with US President Joe Biden upon invitation on China-US relations and issues of common concern on Friday. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Hua Chunying announced on Thursday. State media reports Chinese President Xi Jinping on Thursday asked for swift containment of the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak, which has engulfed almost the entire country, and emphasized on the dynamic zero-COVID policy. South China Morning Post writes, China's zero-COVID policy leaves poorer regions with little choice but rigid and crude lockdowns. Global Times writes, it is necessary for China, India to mend their fraught relations. Both countries should use any window of opportunity to quickly mend this important relationship. Now let's take a look at what made the headlines in Nepal. Himalayan Times reported the festival of colors, Holi, being widely celebrated in Nepal. Republica writes that Phagu Purnima or Holi, the festival of colors, is being celebrated with much fanfare in the districts of the Tarai region. The festival, also called the Spring Festival, marks the arrival of spring and the harvest season.
Let us have some brief news from Bangladesh. The government of Bangladesh has cancelled the name of Mohammad Amir Hamza from the list of people nominated for nation's highest civilian award, Swadhinta Padak, reports Daily Star. Amir Hamza was one of the nominees in the literature category for the award announced on 15th of March. His inclusion attracted lots of criticism in the media as he was sentenced to life imprisonment in a murder case more than 4 decades back. Bangladesh lost to West Indies in a nail-biting match in the ongoing ICC Women's World Cup cricket, reports Pratham Alu. The defeat comes after a spectacular win over Pakistan in the last match. Bangladesh lost by just 4 runs in the game at Bay Oval in Mount Maungani on Friday. Let us take a look at the press reports on Afghanistan. ANI reports that the Taliban has officially banned the broadcast of all foreign TV series in Afghanistan. Sputnik reported, citing a person familiar with the situation. The Taliban clearly said to stop showing any foreign TV series translated into Dari or Pashto, the official languages of Afghanistan. A participant of the meeting of Afghan broadcasters held on Thursday said, according to the Russian news agency. According to Khama Press, Taliban has suspended the operations of insurance companies in Afghanistan. In badminton, Indian shuttler Lakshya Sen entered the semi-finals of All India Open Badminton Championship courtesy of a walkover on Friday. While Indian duo Teresa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand, the debutantes defeated Korean second seeds Lee So-hee-shin by 21-15, 22-20, 21-14 in round 2 and also reached the semi-final.
In ICC Women's ODI World Cup in New Zealand, India will face Australia in Auckland on Saturday. So far, India have played 4 matches, won 2 and lost 2. The match will start at 6:30 a.m. IST. All India Radio will broadcast running commentary of the match. Now, a quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says core of self-reliance principle is to make India an economic superpower house that caters to both domestic and global needs. 14th Annual India-Japan Summit to be held in New Delhi on Saturday to advance partnership for peace, stability and prosperity in Indo-Pacific region. India extends $1 billion concessional credit facility to Sri Lanka, credit amount to be used for importing food, medicine and other essential items. Indian Embassy in Ukraine issues fresh advisory for citizens and shares new contact details for assistance. US President Joe Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping hold virtual talks. President Xi Jinping says conflicts and confrontations are not in the interest of anyone. And now, before we end, let's listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Australia. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.